Hello, set-apart saints. This is David, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the context of the vial judgments. The context is that the two witnesses, the scriptures and the saints, were testifying against the Antichrist beast popes after they came back to life during the Protestant Reformation. The Protestant reformers proclaimed that the office of the papacy, the popes of Rome, fulfill prophecy as the little horn of Daniel 7, the son of perdition of 2 Thessalonians 2, and the Antichrist beast of Revelation, who leads the harlot church of Rome. To counter this, at the Council of Trent, Satan caused the Antichrist beast popes to empower Ignatius Loyola and the Society of Jesus to counter the Reformation. They did this via the Inquisition and by creating corrupt doctrine which deflects blame away from the popes. In the last video, we saw the evil nature of Ignatius Loyola and his demonic spiritual exercises, and how he created an army of mind-controlled soldiers who obey his every command to counter the Reformation and bring the world back under the authority of the Antichrist beast popes. Many books have been written about the evil Jesuits, primarily in the 19th through 20th centuries, as the Jesuits were killing, stealing, and destroying. The enemy tries to hide the witness against them by not allowing these books to be sold anymore. I'll put a link in the video description to an amazing discoveries page that has PDFs of these books. Here are some of the titles. The Black Pope, A History of the Jesuits. Engineer Corpse of Hell. History of the Jesuits, Their Origin, Progress, Doctrines, and Design. Romanism, A Menace to the Nation. Secret Instructions of the Jesuits. The Footprint of the Jesuits and the Jesuits in History. Now, I'm not recommending the explanations of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, of which that website is a part of, as I disagree with some of the prophecy fulfillment explanations that they give, but I appreciate that they're historicists and that they have this list available. When Loyola was fasting and being led by an evil spirit, perhaps even Satan himself, Ignatius had a vision shown him, in which he plainly beheld two cities or camps, and two armies engaged in mortal combat. That's amazing, because it's the historical narrative of Revelation, as Satan is using the great city of the Roman beast kingdom to fight against Messiah's saints who are called Holy Jerusalem. So right there we see the two people groups, the two camps, and the two cities of Revelation. In regard to Loyola's mission, Satan's camp is the army of the Society of Jesus, a military order whose mission is to war against Messiah's camp, his ecclesia of saints. We see this in Revelation 11:2, in which the holy city of the ecclesia of Messiah is tread underfoot for 42 months during the Dark Ages and the Inquisition of the 1260-year reign of power of the Antichrist beast popes. We see it in Revelation 11:8 when the two witnesses, the scriptures and the saints, are as dead in the great city of the Roman beast kingdom. We see it in Revelation 21:9-10 when the angel shows John the bride, the Lamb's wife, which he calls Holy Jerusalem. Loyola saw two cities, two camps, are engaged in mortal combat, and the society of Satan in the great city of the Roman beast kingdom seems to be winning the war against Holy Jerusalem, as they deceive the end-time saints into believing false futuristic explanations of prophecy fulfillment so that they don't even know who is the enemy of Messiah and his saints. You can't win a war if you don't know who the enemy is. During the 16th and 18th centuries, the war between the two cities, the two camps, continued. Protestants proclaimed the gospel throughout the Roman Empire, and Bible societies were formed to send the scriptures to people all over the world. The Jesuits tortured and killed saints during the Inquisition, which was the most notorious and devilish thing in human history. It was devised by the Antichrist beast popes and Jesuit superior generals and used by them for hundreds of years to maintain their power. In the approaching end of the age, Henry Gretton Guinness says, the apocalypse represents us with two great companies of martyrs, one slain by pagan emperors on account of their testimony against heathen idolatry, the other slain by Christian popes on account of their testimony against Christian idolatry, against the corruptions and false doctrines of the papacy. The martyrs represented in the 15th chapter of the book, standing as victors on the sea of glass, having gotten the victory over the beast and over the image and over the number of his name, must be those slain by papal Rome. A previous group of martyrs are represented in the 6th chapter, who must therefore be slain by pagan Rome in the 10 great persecution periods of the church by the Caesars. In Yah's economy, every martyr who does not deny Messiah is a victory over the beast. The saints sang the song of the Lamb as they revere Messiah's blood sacrifice as the Passover lamb, which paid the price for their sins, as opposed to the Catholic Church, whose mass of transubstantiation denies Messiah's one-time atonement. On the fulfillment timeline, the seventh trumpet has sounded. which is the third woe that leads to the 7 vial judgments. Revelation 14 points to the great harvest of souls during the Protestant Reformation and the coming judgment on those who revere and obey the Antichrist beast pope. Revelation 15 proclaims the wrath of Yah, which is directed at those who tortured and killed the saints during the 16th through 18th century. So it's directed at the Antichrist beast pope and the Catholics who revered and obeyed him in killing the saints. This is what it means to have the mark of the beast. More than 1 million French Protestants were killed or run out of the country, many of which had their heads cut off in France's major cities and who were killed all around France. Spain and other Catholic countries also followed the Pope's orders in killing the saints. During the 16th through 18th centuries, the Society of Satan started to send their Jesuit priests around the world to make converts to Romanism so that more people revere and obey the Antichrist beast pope as their leader. The Jesuit priests became the preferred men for Catholic business and government people to make their confessions, as they were very accommodating. This allowed the Jesuits to gather intel about government and business leaders to use for blackmail so that they could manipulate people and take control of businesses and countries. This led to countries expelling them, even Catholic ones, for engaging in political intrigue and subversive plots against the welfare of the state. We read in the sentence given by the Parliament of France in 1662, "The Institute of the Jesuits is inadmissible, for its nature in its whole estate is contrary to natural right, opposed to all authority, spiritual and temporal, and on the road to introduce, under the cloak of a religious institution, a body politic, whose essence consists in the continual activity, to reach by whatever way their desire, direct or indirect, secret or public, until first an absolute independence, and successively the usurpation of all authority." The suppression of the Jesuits was the removal of all the members of the Society of Jesus from most of the countries of Western Europe and their colonies. Portugal, Angola, Goa, and Brazil took the lead in 1759. In 1762, an act of parliament in France dissolved and banished the Society of Jesus, noting, "The moral practice of the Society of Jesus is perverse, destructive of all religious principle and probity, injurious to the Christian morality, pernicious to civil society, seditious and contrary to the rights and nature of the royal power, and to the sacred persons of the sovereigns, and to the obedience of the subjects. They are adapted to excite the greater revolt in the states and to reform and sustain the most profound corruption in the hearts of men. Their doctrines destroy the law of nature. They break all the bonds of civil society by authorizing theft, lying, perjury, the utmost licentiousness, murder, criminal passions, and of all manner of sins. Their doctrines root out all sentiments of humanity, overthrow all governments, excite rebellion, uproot the foundation of religion, and substitute all sorts of superstition, irreligion, blasphemy, and idolatry." Make note that France is playing a major role in causing the Society of Satan, the Jesuits, to have their power removed and to kick them out of the country. Several Italian states such as Parma, Sicily, and Naples followed suit. By sealed imperial orders sent to her colonies around the world, Spain threw out the Jesuits in 1767. The mightiest Catholic nations of Europe banished the Society of Jesus from their realms. These Catholic monarchs demanded that the Catholic Church abolish the society forever. Pope Clement XIII initially resisted their wishes, but finally capitulated in 1769. The night before he planned to do this, he was poisoned to death. The Jesuits killing a pope might seem absurd until you read their oath, which includes these words: "I will secretly use the poisoned cup, the strangulating cord, the steel of the poniard, or the leaden bullet, regardless of the honor, rank, dignity, and authority of the person or persons, whatever may be their condition in life, either public or private, as I at any time may be directed to do by any agent of the Pope or superior of the Brotherhood of the Holy Faith of the Society of Jesus. Decrees suppress them in the Philippines, Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Chile, Ecuador, Guatemala, Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Mexico. Austria did the same in 1773. Finally, in 1773, at the urging of the King of France, Pope Clement XIV issued the document abolishing the Jesuit order altogether, listing 11 popes that tried to curb their excesses. Among them were Benedict XIV, Innocent XI, Innocent XIII, and Benedict XIV. He cited the Jesuits for opposition to other religious orders, and for revolts and intestine troubles in some of the Catholic states, and persecutions against the Church in Europe and Asia. There remained no other remedy to so great evils, and the step was necessary in order to prevent the Christians from rising one against the other, and from massacring each other in the very bosom of our common mother, the Holy Church. Therefore he wrote, after a mature deliberation, we do out of our certain knowledge, in the fullness of our apostolic power, suppress and abolish the said company. The bull labeled them the bane of all nations. It further accused them of tumult, disturbances, violences, and of disturbing the peace of the church and the nations. In enumerating their faults, the Pope said that they were so great as to outweigh their services. Pope Clement XIV knew that by signing their death warrant, he was signing his own as well. This oppression is done at last, and I am not sorry about it. I would do it again if it was not done already, but this oppression will kill me. In the book The Jesuits, Their Moral Maxims and Plots Against Kings, Nations, and Churches, in the 19th century, James Aiken Wiley says, the very mother out of whose bowels they sprung was compelled to confess that she had given birth to a progeny that would devour her unless she should find some means of ridding herself of them. Clement did the bold deed, knowing that he risked his life in doing it. On laying down his pen after affixing his name to the bull of suppression, he gave vent to the presentiment that oppressed him. I have signed my death warrant, he proclaimed. The Society of Jesus are a vengeful bunch, and they wanted to carry out revenge against France primarily, and the other countries which had kicked them out. The revenge started with Pope Clement XIV, who was poisoned to death by the Society of Jesus in 1774. He lamented, alas, I knew they would poison me, but I did not expect to die in so slow and cruel a manner. As you see the Jesuits carrying out their wicked deeds, there's a subplot, as Yah the Heavenly Father uses pagan people groups to carry out his righteous judgment. It's important to see that though the Jesuit army is led by Satan to fight against Messiah and his saints, they are pawns in the hands of the Heavenly Father, who uses them to carry out judgments against apostate people. In the vial judgments, you will see how the countries which had kicked the Society of Jesus out are the ones who spilled the blood of the saints. So judgment was due against them. These countries had spilled the blood of the saints when they revered and obeyed the Antichrist beast Pope in killing and persecuting Messiah's ecclesia. And now judgment is coming upon them through the hands of the Jesuits. My point is that the Jesuits are pawns in the hands of the Most High. And though the world seems to be descending in chaos, everything is in the Father's mighty hands. You will see that the Jesuits were used to remove the Antichrist beast Pope from power, ending his Yah-determined 1260-year reign of power in 1798. So though the Society of Jesus leaders are an evil group who serve Satan's plan, they're being used to carry out Yah's righteous judgments. The vial judgments start in France, who has played a key role in persecuting the saints and in causing the Jesuits' authority to be removed. Psalm 75:8 shows us that a vial, a cup in Scripture, can represent Yah the Heavenly Father's judicial infliction upon his enemies. For in the hand of the Lord there is a cup, and the wine is red. It is full of mixture, and he pours out the same. But the dregs thereof, all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out and drink them. Before we get to the fulfillment of the vial judgments, let's note where we're at on the Revelation fulfillment timeline to see the bowl judgment's proper context. And if you don't have that timeline, I will provide a link in the description of the video so you can print that out. The popes gained civil authority over the Roman beast empire in 538. So their 1260-year reign of power was coming to an end in 1798. And the next phase of the Roman beast, called the earth beast, was set to begin. I want you to see that it is the false prophet Jesuit superior general, who was raised to power in the 16th century to fight against Messiah and his saints, who is used to carry out the vial judgments, which lead to the Antichrist beast Pope being removed from power in 1798. Then we can see that it is the false prophet Jesuit superior general who controls the great city of the Roman beast kingdom from Vatican City, the earth, the land from which he rose to power, which can be seen in the narrative of the earth beast phase of the Roman beast kingdom in Revelation 13. In the book Paraphrase of the Revelation of St. John, according to E.B. Elliott, it says, as the book in which the divine predictions were recorded was sealed with 7 seals, and each seal was in turn open, and as on the opening of the 7th seal 7 trumpets were in succession sounded, as the events of the 7th seal were to be successfully developed, so now, upon the sounding of the 7th trumpet, are 7 angels bringing the 7 bowl judgments. In the next video, I'll talk about the first vial judgment. That's all for today. I love y'all. Shalom.